The year is 2026, and the Persian Gulf is a mirror of tension, a stretch of water so quiet that the silence itself feels like a scream waiting to happen. The heat acts as a physical weight, pressing down on the flight deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln, where the smell of jet fuel and sea salt creates the perfume of modern warfare. It is 0300 hours, the witching hour, when the human spirit is most fragile and the darkness is most absolute. But on this floating city, there is no sleep. The deck is alive, a choreographed ballet of shadows and neon wands. Yellow shirts, green shirts. The crew moves with a frantic precision that belies the terrifying reality of what is about to unfold. They are not just preparing for a patrol. They are preparing to rewrite the map of the Middle East. The Lincoln, a nuclear-powered behemoth displacing over 100,000 tons, cuts through the black water of the Gulf of Oman, her wake glowing with bioluminescence like a trail of radioactive fire. She is not merely a ship. She is a sovereign territory, a mobile airfield, a diplomatic ultimatum made of steel and depleted uranium. Inside the Combat Direction Center, the air is freezing, a stark contrast to the humid oppression outside. The glow of blue screens illuminates the faces of men and women who hold the power of gods at their fingertips. The captain stands overlooking the plotting tables, his face a mask of calculated resolve. Intelligence has confirmed the unthinkable and imminent, coordinated ballistic missile launch from deep within the Zagros Mountains intended to close the Strait of Hormuz and cripple the global economy. Washington has stopped talking. Diplomacy has burned to ash. The order has come down, simple and terrifying. Neutralize the threat. Establish total dominance. The plan relies on the unique, overwhelming capabilities of Carrier Air Wing 9. This is not a coalition. This is not a joint task force. This is a demonstration of what a single United States carrier strike group can do when the gloves come off. Tip of the spear is the F-35C Lightning II. On the catapult, the first of these stealth fighters is hooked up, its engine screaming a high-pitched whine that vibrates in the teeth of everyone on deck. The pilot, callsign Viper, checks his displays. His helmet, a marvel of augmented reality, allows him to see through the floor of his own cockpit. He is not just flying a jet. He is fused with a sensor suite that sees everything. The steam catapult fires, and in 2 seconds, the 30-ton machine is hurled from 0 to 170 miles per hour. Viper is airborne, disappearing instantly into the night. He is followed by another and another. They are ghosts. The Iranian radar operators, sitting in their bunkers hundreds of miles away, see nothing. The sky is empty to them, but the sky is full of death. F-35s push forward, crossing the coastline at 40,000 feet. They are not carrying external weapons that would ruin their stealth profile. Their bays are internal, loaded with precision-guided munitions designed to decapitate the enemy's eyes. This is the first phase, blindness. Before you can kill the enemy, you must take away his sight. Deep inside Iranian territory, the air defense network is one of the dense in the world. S-300 and S-400 batteries, indigenous Sony 3 systems, and early warning radars scan the horizon. They are looking for the jagged edges of non-stealth fighters, the heat signatures of bombers. They do not see the data stream moving silently above them. The F-35s are not just shooters, they are quarterbacks. They are vacuuming up electronic signals, geolocating every radar emitter in the country. Viper identifies the primary radar, protecting the ballistic missile silos near Tabriz. He doesn't even have to point his nose at it. He designates the target and transmits the data back to the Lincoln and the A-18G Growlers following behind the stealth wall. The Growlers are the wolves of the electromagnetic spectrum. As soon as the data is received, they unleash a torrent of jamming signals. On the ground, Iranian radar screens erupt into static. It is not just noise. It is sophisticated, digital false targets. The operators see 1,000 planes where there are none. They see missiles coming from the north when the attack is coming from the south. Panic set. Commanders scream into telephones that are dead, jammed by the same fog. Then the kinetics begin. The F-35s open their bays. GBU-50B Stormbreaker bombs glide through the thin air. They are small, winged, and smart. They hunt. The first impact is silent to the world outside, a sudden flash of white light that consumes the command and control bunker of the coastal defense batteries. Then another, and another. The entire integrated air defense system along the Persian Gulf coast flickers and dies. It is like watching it go dark during a power outage, but this darkness is permanent. With the door kicked open, the Super Hornets arrive. F-888F Super Hornets, the workhorses of the fleet, roar off the Lincoln's deck fully loaded. They are not stealthy, and they don't need to be anymore. The ghosts have cleared the path. The Super Hornets carry the heavy ordnance 2 JDAMs, cruise missiles, anti-radiation missiles. They stream over the coastline, their engines thundering a sound that shakes the ground. They fan out across the country, striking fuel depots, air bases, and communication nodes. The Iranian Air Force scrambles. F-14 Tomcats, relics of a bygone era kept flying by ingenuity and will, rise to meet the Americans. But it is not a fight. It is an execution. The Super Hornets, guided by the E-2D Advanced Hawkeye circling safely over the Gulf, fire AMRAAM missiles from beyond visual range. The Iranian pilots never see who kills them. Their Their warning receivers shriek for a split second before their aircraft disintegrate into fireballs. The sky belongs to the Lincoln. By sunrise, the landscape of the war has changed fundamentally. The first wave returns to the carrier. The deck crew, fueled by adrenaline and caffeine, turns the jets around in record time. Refuel, rearm, relaunch. It is a pit stop at the speed of war. The Lincoln is turning the sortie generation rate into a weapon of its own. There is no pause. There is no respite for the enemy. Every time an Iranian commander tries to organize a defense, a bomb falls on his position. The relentless tempo is designed to break the psychological will of the leadership. The message is clear: we are here, and we can touch you anywhere, at any time. The focus now shifts to the ballistic missile sites. These are deep, hardened targets buried under mountains. The Lincoln unleashes the heavy hitters. F-35s, now operating in beast mode, with weapons on their external wings since air supremacy is secured, carry bunker-busting munitions. They dive deep into the valleys of the Zagros. The precision is surgical. They drop weapons into ventilation shafts, into tunnel entrances. Secondary explosions rumble through the mountains as solid fuel rocket motors ignite inside the silos. The earth shakes. The threat of a massive missile barrage against the fleet or regional allies is being dismantled piece by piece, hour by hour. However, the enemy is resilient. As the second day dawns, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, attempts a swarm attack. Hundreds of small speedboats, laden with explosives and shoulder-fired missiles, pour out of hidden coves along the coast. They are like a cloud of angry hornets, heading straight for the carrier strike group. This is the asymmetric threat naval planners have feared for decades. $1 billion warship against a $1,000 boat. But the Lincoln is ready. The air wing shifts roles instantly. The Super Hornets are re-tasked for maritime strike. They descend low, skimming the waves. They use their cannons, laser-guided rockets, and Maverick missiles. It is a turkey shoot. The water turns churned and bloody. The helicopters from the strike group's destroyers join the fray, their Hellfire missiles picking off the stragglers. The swarm is decimated before it can get within 20 miles of the Lincoln. The ocean surface is littered with burning fiberglass and oil. The attempt to overwhelm the carrier's defenses fails catastrophically, proving that mass alone cannot defeat integrated technology and superior firepower. The psychological impact of the air campaign is now taking root. In Tehran, the lights are out. The power grid has been targeted, not to destroy the civilian infrastructure permanently, but to cut the regime off from its people. Graphite bombs have shorted out the transformers. The internet is dead. State television is static. The only information the population has is the sound of jets overhead, the constant thundering reminder of American presence. The USS Abraham Lincoln has effectively placed a dome over the country. Nothing flies without permission. Nothing moves on the major highways without being tracked. The carrier is not just a ship anymore. It is the presiding judge over a nation under siege. The pilots are exhausted, their bodies aching from the G-forces, their minds fried from the intense concentration. They fly on. They fly because the mission profile demands absolute suffocation of the enemy's ability to fight. As Part 1 concludes, the stage is set for the final phase. The enemy's eyes are gouged out, their air force is grounded or destroyed, and their navy is sinking. But the regime is still in power. The deepest bunkers are still intact. The end game requires an escalation, a shift from target destruction to regime paralysis. The Lincoln prepares for the next level of warfare, a level that goes beyond bombs and bullets, entering the realm of information dominance and the systematic dismantling of the state's authority. The sun sets on the second day, casting long, blood-red shadows over the flight deck. The noise does not stop. The catapults hiss. The engines roar. The iron fist of the ocean is poised for the knockout blow. The sun rises on the third day over the Zagros Mountains, but it illuminates a landscape that has been fundamentally altered, not by geology, but by the relentless application of precision violence. The USS Abraham Lincoln, still prowling the Gulf of Oman like a caged predator released, initiates the phase of total paralysis. This is where the war shifts from breaking things to breaking minds. The air wing changes its loadout again. The heavy iron of the previous days is replaced by weapons of nuance and terror. F-35Cs, now operating with impunity in the permissive airspace, begin the loitering phase. They do not just strike and return, they hang in the sky, refueled by a constant rotation of aerial tankers that have pushed aggressively forward. The pilots effectively own the airspace over Tehran. They are not dropping bombs yet, they are watching. Advanced sensors peer through the roofs of buildings, tracking the heat signatures of vehicles leaving government compounds. Every time a high-ranking official attempts to move, a Hellfire missile, launched from a drone controlled by the E-2D Hawkeye circling the fleet, strikes the engine block of their lead security vehicle. It is a message sent in fire, twisted metal. The roads are closed. The Lincoln has severed the head of the snake from its body. The paralysis is absolute. No orders can go out. No reports can come in. The regime is deaf, dumb, and blind in a capital city that has become a prison. Simultaneously, the strike group initiates the dismantling of the enemy's economic lifeline. The Iranian oil terminals channels, the veins through which the regime's lifeblood flows, are targeted not for destruction but for disablement. Super Hornets, flying low and slow, drop specialized munitions filled with carbon fiber filaments and distinct chemical compounds that turn fuel into useless sludge. Refineries freeze up, pipelines clog. The infrastructure remains intact, leaving a path for future reconstruction, but the immediate capacity to wage war or generate revenue evaporates instantly. This is the new face of American dominance, the ability to turn off a nation's economy like a light switch. The fires on the ground are minimal, but the devastation to the gross domestic product is total. At sea, the few remaining Iranian frigates that survived the initial onslaught attempt a desperate sortie, trying to leverage the narrow geography of the Strait of Hormuz. They are met by the Lincoln's organic anti-surface warfare capability. The F-18 carry the long-range anti-ship missile El-Razam. These intelligent weapons talk to each other in flight, coordinating their attackers to overwhelm the enemy's point defense systems. The frigates are struck simultaneously from multiple angles. There is no glory in their sinking, only the brutal mathematics of superior technology. The strait remains open, but only for the ships the U.S. Navy allows. The chokehold is complete. As the week progresses, the psychological weight of the Lincoln's presence becomes unbearable for the defenders on the ground. The carrier strike group begins psychological operations, broadcasting directly onto the radio frequencies of the Iranian military units. The Growlers hijack the airwaves, transmitting not propagandics. They list the units that have been destroyed. They name the commanders who have fled. They offer instructions on how to surrender to avoid annihilation. This voice of the Gulf becomes the only source of truth in a shattered information ecosystem. Entire battalions of the regular army, realizing the futility of fighting a ghost that kills them from 40,000 feet, begin to abandon their equipment. They leave their tanks in the desert, hatches open, and walk home. The IRGC, the ideological hardliners, dig in deeper, retreating into urban centers, hoping to draw the Americans into a bloody street fight. But the Lincoln refuses the bait. The admiral knows that boots on the ground are unnecessary when you control the sky so completely. Instead, the air waits denial zones. Using variable yield weapons and focused energy directed from pod-mounted systems, they create invisible walls around the IRGC strongholds. Any vehicle that crosses the line is vaporized. Food cannot get in. Ammunition cannot get in. The defenders are sieged in their own cities, held hostage by aircraft they cannot see. The climax of the operation comes not with a nuclear bang, but with a display of hypersonic supremacy. Intelligence locates the supreme leadership in a deep command and control bunker complex carved into a granite mountain near Isfahan. It is a fortress designed to survive nuclear war, but it was not designed to survive the kinetic energy of a hypersonic impact. The Lincoln's air wing launches a coordinated strike involving the new hypersonic air-launched offensive HALO missiles carried by the Super Hornets. These weapons accelerate to Mach 5 within seconds of release. They cross the country in minutes, their heat shields glowing white-hot. The Iranian air defenses, already battered and confused, cannot even track them. The missiles do not carry high explosives. They carry kinetic penetrators, solid rods of tungsten density. They strike the mountain with the force of a meteor. The impact generates a shockwave that travels through the rock, collapsing the tunnels and crushing the bunkers hundreds of feet underground. The mountain itself seems to shudder. The leadership is entombed. It is the final, undeniable proof that there is no sanctuary. The knockout blow has been delivered, not by leveling a city, but by surgically removing the brain of the enemy with a spear thrown from the sea. In the aftermath, the silence returns to the Gulf, but it is a different kind of silence. It is the silence of submission. The remaining military leadership, cut off and terrified, broadcasts an unconditional surrender on the open emergency frequencies. The USS Abraham Lincoln ceases offensive flight operations. The deck, once a chaotic factory of war, shifts rhythmically to a patrol stance. The jets are still armed, still flying, but the urgency has bled away. The show of force has become a force of occupation without a single American soldier setting foot on Iranian soil. The carrier sits off the coast, a gray titan on the horizon, casting a shadow that reaches all the way to Tehran. Diplomatic channels reopen. The dynamic has shifted entirely. The terms are dictated, not negotiated. The carrier has proven that in the modern era, you do not need to invade a country to conquer it. You only need to control the air above it so absolutely the nation below ceases to function as a sovereign entity. The script ends with a view from the cockpit of Viper's F-35 as he flies a final victory lap over the extinguished capital. The city lights are coming back on, block by block, as the UAV allows the power grid to reboot. It is a symbol of benevolence granted by the victor. Viper looks down at the sprawling metropolis, knowing that every life down there exists because the Lincoln allowed it. He banks the jet, the G-force push into his seat, and turns south, back towards the boat, back to the floating city that reshaped history in less than a week. The camera pulls back, rising higher and higher, until the F-35 is just a speck, and the curvature of the Earth reveals the vast, blue expanse of the ocean. In the center of it all sits the USS Abraham Lincoln, small against the infinite water, yet colossal in its significance. The final shot is of the American flag snapping in the wind on the ship's mast, the sun setting behind it, turning the sky into a bruised purple and gold. The text on the screen fades in, stark and simple. Dominance is not a request. It is a capability. The screen cuts to black, leaving the audience with the terrifying, awe-inspiring realization of what true naval power looks like in the 21st century.